Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back to Atlantic City. Today we're not going to do any music. Um, I had thought about doing something from the Mad Dogs and Englishmen, and I'm like, I just did like a whole bunch of stuff with Leon Russell in it, and I'm like, I changed my mind, and it got me to thinking about the movie, the Mad Dogs and Englishmen movie, and I decided to do just to tell you a story today about movies when I was growing up. And there was this little theater in the next town from where I lived. As a teenager, we moved over to New Jersey. And I lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia, about 5 miles away from the bridges that connected New Jersey to Philadelphia. And in one of these little towns, there was one of those old private movie theaters. Probably had 300 seats in it, just one level. And it was just, it just served the people of that community. This was back in the day. No eightplex movies, none of those the big theaters didn't even exist back then. At least not in our area. And this theater would run their normal programming all week long, and but on Friday and Saturday night, they would play a movie that was a little offbeat, a little out of the ordinary, and they would only play them at midnight. And what was so cool about it was this theater never promoted the midnight movie. You had to just know that there was a midnight movie. And they would run their 9:30 show at the theater of their regular movie, and it would get over at 11 and the theater would close. And the guy would go in there and do whatever he was doing. And about 11:30 at night, he would come out with his box of letters and his stick, and he would change the sign at like 11:30 at night. So you literally had to already be there and be in line before you even knew what movie you were going to see. It was the coolest thing ever. And I started doing this about the age of 13. And I would ride my bicycle from the neighboring town about 3 miles to go to this theater. So like whatever was there, that's what you were seeing. And I saw everything at this theater. They played the Woodstock movie. They played the Concert for Bangladesh movie. They played Mad Dogs and Englishmen. They played Woodstock. They played all kind of concert films they played, and a bunch of classics. I've seen Casablanca on the big screen. I've seen Citizen Kane. Matter of fact, two of my most favorite movies today are movies that I saw at that theater. And both of them were Spencer Tracy movies, oddly enough. I got to see The Old Man and the Sea, the Ernest Hemingway book adapted to a movie with Spencer Tracy. And I got to see Inherit the Wind, about the Scopes monkey trial in Tennessee back in the 40s, I think it was, or maybe in like 1940 something. I got to see that, and I got to see a bunch of Kubrick films. All the early Kubrick stuff I got to see. I got to see Paths to Glory, and Lolita, and Doctor Strangelove, and Clockwork, and Barry Lyndon. Barry Lyndon, oh my God, Barry Lyndon was so cool. Very artsy film. 3.5 hours long. I even forgot to tell you. There was a little hamburger stand on the corner. It was like a little White Castle. And on Friday and Saturday nights, they would stay open until the movie let out at midnight. So like all the neighborhood kids, and it was mostly a bunch of kids that went. It was like, people under the age of 30 were the only ones that ever went, and they'd be open. So like you'd get out of the movie theater at 1:30, quarter to 2 in the morning, and then you'd go next door, and this little tiny thing. Oh my God, it was the size of three phone booths put together. I swear it was a little tiny thing. I think it had 3 seats or 6 seats inside, and everybody else just stood outside and ordered their burgers and just ate burgers on the corner. Those little White Castle burgers, and oh, it was the coolest experience you could have ever imagined, and you know, got to see all these great films, and it was so cool because you never knew what you were going to see. Like you literally had to commit to go into the theater, before you even knew what you were going to go see. And I got to thinking about that last night, and I was like, what a shame that kids today will never have that experience of just doing something for the sake of doing it, and having to make an effort to go make it happen, and just getting to hang out with, all kinds of people, for this movie that you didn't even know what you were going to go see until you saw it. It was very cool. It was a really cool experience. It was so awesome. And then like 1975, the Rocky Horror Picture Show came out. They started playing the Rocky Horror Picture Show every Saturday at midnight from 1975 until that theater closed down, which was probably in the late 90s. So like literally there was a good 20-year span. They played the Rocky Horror Picture Show every Saturday night, and Friday night was always still just whatever you're going to get. And like I said, I saw all kinds of crazy stuff, all kinds of things that I would have never seen under any circumstances, especially in a theater, that I saw there. And I just thought I would share this with you today, just because it's a really cool story. And it's the kind of story that doesn't exist today. And it was just the coolest thing that you could ever imagine. Like I said, you're literally I'm riding a bicycle 3 miles, 3.5 miles, whatever it was, to go see a movie that I didn't even know what the movie was. Oh, dude, like when we went to see Barry Lyndon, when it was Barry Lyndon's week, I remember going into that theater, or, you're waiting outside. We didn't know Barry Lyndon was 3.5 hours long. Like, we got out of the movie theater, it was 3:30 in the morning by the time Barry Lyndon was over. That's a Stanley Kubrick film, by the way. And, very cool film. All, very artsy, all filmed by candlelight, really cool. But the burger place was still open. We're out there at 4 o'clock in the morning, eating hamburgers, standing on the corner. There's 150 kids standing on the corner around this burger joint. And, everybody's out there bumming cigarettes, or somebody's passing a joint around, or some crazy thing, whatever they were doing. But what a cool experience to have as a little kid. And, and then you had to ride your bike home 3 miles, whatever it was. And you'd probably get home at 5. I got home at 5 o'clock in the morning, from a movie. It was just the coolest experience ever. And I just thought I would share that with you. And like I said, it made me kind of sad that a lot of kids that are going to come up today are just never going to be able to experience stuff like that. And I just figured I would just pass this along. Like I said, no music today. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it the next time around. But I just thought today I would just share that story of that little independent movie theater. And just reminiscing on how cool it was. And oh my, like I said, and then like I said, it was Saturday nights. It played Rocky Horror for over 20 years, every Saturday night at midnight, and it was always packed. It was just, I don't know. It was a great time to grow up. It was a great place to be, and that little movie theater was kind of a big part of it. Like I said, I got to see a lot of things that under normal circumstances would probably never have happened. And if you guys have any sort of a similar story, you can share it down in the comments. But anyway, folks, just a little reminiscing about an old man's teenage years. And this was probably in that it was all in the 70s. By the time I started going, it was probably about 1973. And you didn't catch it every week, but you always wanted to, because you never knew what you were going to miss, because they never promoted it. The guy would just it was so cool. Like I said, the guy would just come out at like 11:30 with his box of letters, and he'd start taking down the old sign and putting up the new one. And it was just like, oh, well, here we go. This is what we got. Tonight is Casablanca. It's just so cool. And you always seemed like you were always excited to see it, no matter what it was. And anyway, it's a time that I'll never forget. And I hope that other people have had such experiences, because it was really good. Well, listen, thanks for listening, and I'll see you all soon back up on the boardwalk. Be good, YouTube.